Bob and Sherry, sponsored by Bank of America Customized Cash Rewards Credit Card. You can earn 3% cash back on online shopping, making the essentials even more rewarding. Here's Bob and Sherry. It's the Bob and Sherry Show.
If you play it long enough, it can get to be a habit.
With Bob.
A moment ago, you said I was crazy.
And Sherry.
I thought you'd say that.
And now, broadcasting from the palatial Bob and Sherry studios, it's Bob and Sherry.
Ooh, this is a tough Monday morning if you work at Facebook. Did you guys see the latest drama that leaked to the Wall Street Journal?
No. What's up?
So last week, Facebook's big black eye was the leaked documents that showed that Facebook has known for years that Instagram is a leading cause of eating disorders, depression, anxiety, and suicidal ideation in teenage girls.
I did see that.
Okay, so you saw that. So that was last week. Here's the latest news. The Wall Street Journal reports that Facebook... not only has Facebook known that the site, Facebook and Instagram, are used by human traffickers in the Middle East with full sex slave markets on Instagram and Facebook, but that in 2019, Apple told Facebook, we're going to pull you out of the App Store because of this.
Whoa.
Now, the former vice president of Facebook, who was in charge of the Middle Eastern market and Africa and Asia, resigned last year. And he said that he resigned just at the end of 2020. He told the Wall Street Journal, it happens. And Facebook looks at abuse in developing countries as simply the cost of doing business.
That's very hard to understand.
So here's the
That's
deal.
very hard to understand. I mean, I could see having to deal with dictators as the cost of doing business, but specifics like this, no.
Well, here's the deal. Facebook, the Wall Street Journal got a hold of internal documents from Facebook, and it lays out in detail how Facebook employees were searching for human traffickers who were using Facebook and Instagram to advertise these human beings, and they were marketing them as like domestic help, like housekeepers, maids, that sort of thing. But that was such a flimsy front. So Facebook does remove, according to the Wall Street Journal, when Facebook finds these accounts, they do remove them, but they have no system to stop offenders who get pulled off the site from just creating a new account and starting all over again. And that while people have worked inside Facebook have worked for years to shut down human trafficking on the platforms, they don't really have enough employees devoted to it. They have very few employees that are native speakers who can even understand what they're looking at. And it's kind of like, you squash one and three more spring up out of it. Facebook, so this is these are internal Facebook documents. Facebook has known about it, that the issue was there long before Apple threatened to pull the platforms. And that, they don't have enough resources, and they're not focused enough on it. And like the president who resigned said, it's part of doing business. So as much as like we all love posting pictures of our dogs and recipes and stuff, this is some sinister information about these platforms.
Aren't you surprised, just stepping back? I mean, I'm not as into Facebook as most people are, but aren't you surprised stepping back and looking at, say, a picture of Mark Zuckerberg, looking at him and saying, I thought you were somebody different with that nutty haircut and just, the attitude that this is the new wave. I'm one of the leaders of the new wave. The world's going to be better because of what I've created. Aren't you a little surprised that when you get down to the bottom line, he's really no different than the guy who ran Exxon?
The best I can do with that scenario is this, Bob. I think when he began, he meant all of the things you just said. But money is an intoxicating and corrupting thing. And the amount of money that has flowed in his direction, I'm not at all surprised that he went off the rails.
I'm just going to shut up because normally Bob Lacey at this point says, how much you need? I mean, you're one of the richest men in the world. How much you need?
Yeah, but
can't you say, I got enough, so let's hire 500 new people to go after whatever these nefarious characters are doing?
people have been saying, how much do you need since before Attila the Hun? It's a good question, but it's not. I don't think it's the right question, because clearly there's no limit to how much he needs. That horse left that barn a long time ago.
Guess so. Yeah.
The real question is like, as customers of these platforms, whether you're an individual or a business or whatever, like what, we are also addicted to the hit. We're also hooked on it now, and we're also dependent on it, that we're like, oh boy, that's bad. Okay, what's next? Like it's just in a world where this kind of stuff is flying at you, it's just so overwhelming. You don't even know where to start with it, right?
Well, I just made a reference to Exxon, and that's the way we all feel about oil and petroleum products. Oh, it's horrible. Yeah. It's making us sick and it's burning up. But I gotta go.
I gotta go somewhere. Yeah, I mean,
right,
it's just
right.
Because sometimes problems like this, these big overwhelming challenges, they're too. It's so huge. How does one person fix it? Okay, you shut down your Facebook account. You're boycotting Facebook. But we need millions of people to do that, not just one person. It's just,
right.
Woo! This is not a good morning to wake up working for Facebook. I can tell you that, because this is all over the place. Coming up, we've got an amazing, I don't know how this guy did it, what he did in Morons in the News. I have no idea how he accomplished it. And neither do his doctors. It's all coming up. It's Bob and Sherry.
Instant access to the podcast, and fun side. Just download the free Bob and Sherry app.
Several movies opened over the weekend, and one of them was The Eyes of Tammy Faye. I think that was about third in the box office. The number one box office hit over the weekend, believe it or not, was the Clint Eastwood movie. The new Clint Eastwood movie that I guess he not only writes and directs, but also stars in. That was number one. This guy will be 100 years old, and people will still be going to see his movies. But I really enjoyed this article about the set designer for The Eyes of Tammy Faye. Of course, it takes place back in the 1980s, and with the Bakers, Jim Baker and Tammy Faye Baker, with the horrible PTL scandal that went on back then. And they hired a woman who is a set designer and told her, you have got to recreate the 1980s. And I read an interview with her, and the interview asked, what were some of the things that defined the 1980s? And she said the number one thing was a jungle of fake plants. Back in the 80s, you'd walk into anybody's office or anybody's house, and there would be these fake plants all over the place. And she said one of the reasons that people, after the 80s had their play, didn't want fake plants, or not that many of them anymore, is the dusting that you had to go through. Because you're sitting next to a fake plant, and it's got dust all over it. It doesn't look so, real anymore, right? So they suddenly went away. The other thing, she said, were gold-drenched trimmings, and also shag carpet, wall-to-wall shag carpet, and also very plush sort of pillows and throw rugs throughout the house. And I haven't seen the movie yet. I want to go this week. I'm looking at one of the scenes, and it's, right out of the 1980s. I don't know that the 80s are going to be a decade that people would want to bring back. Like, sometimes you'll see somebody has like a 50s retro look. I don't know if the 80s are good for that.
Oh my God, my daughters and all of their friends, that's all they want. Those are the clothes they buy at thrift stores. Oh God. There's a poster of Ferris Bueller in one of their rooms. I don't know. I think there's a lot of nostalgia for the 80s with
Maybe
teenagers.
Maybe so. I don't remember the gold accents, but of course, back then I didn't have two nickels to rub together, so I wouldn't have noticed that.
A friend of mine bought her teenage son an old Camry. I think it was like the late 80s, maybe 1990, and it was dark green with all gold. Like where chrome would be, it was all gold.
Yeah.
It was all gold.
Really?
Yeah. And remember, like you would have like in bathrooms, like instead of like chrome shower knobs and everything would be brass or gold. You may not have had it yourself, but you do remember
it. I did not. Yeah, I really don't. I remember that car. I didn't have one with gold trim, but I had that same Camry back then. Camrys are great cars, and they're very stylish today. But I have a picture of myself in front of the Camry I had. It looked like a Russian police car. I mean, it was very, very stripped down. Today, they're hot looking.
This kid's green Camry with the gold trim, he was like straight pimping.
Yeah, with a Camry. Yeah, exactly. The other thing I think that she said were mirrors. Huge 10-foot mirrors were very popular during that period.
To make the
even
room
in the
look
bathroom.
Again, if you've ever gone house shopping and gone through houses that were built in the 80s, there'd be like whole walls in the bedroom that were mirrored. The dining room would have an accent wall that was 100% mirrored.
All mirrors.
Mirrored walls in bathrooms. Yeah, and the fake plants everywhere. Wallpaper borders. Remember those?
What was the Tom Wolfe book, the Something of the Vanities?
Bonfire.
The Bonfire of the Vanities, right? So a very, very big book, and much of it takes place, as I remember, in New York City. And one of the chapters opens up, I guess it's mid-'80s maybe. And one of the chapters opens up, you could go into any upscale, large, multi-million-dollar condo or co-op in Manhattan and hear the same sound, the cracking of wall-to-wall mirrors being taken down. I thought that was great writing. So that's the number 3 movie, and Clint Eastwood, king of the box office again, at least for a few days. We've got Morons in the News. Straight ahead, some good ones. It's Bob and Sherry.
Bob and Sherry.
You idiot.
Here they are.
He's a moron. He's acting like a complete idiot.
Morons in the News.
Okay, we're going to start in the heartland. A Indiana man who continually called 911 to announce, "I am tired," will now be spending 2 months in the county jail. Daniel Schroeder, who is 61 years old, was taken into custody in connection with calls that he made stating, quote, "I am tired," according to the police department. Mr. Schroeder made the calls after pleading guilty to an early misuse of the emergency system. A relative was displeasing him also because he was not following my rules. So evidently between his fatigue and the rule-breaking relative, he'd had enough and just started calling 911. That will get you, if you keep it up, 60 days behind bars. They said, the court said, "Mr. Schroeder, we're going to let you go. We're going to suspend it. But if you call 911 again for no reason at all, it's going to be 2 or 3 months in jail."
Well, I don't want him to call 911, but how many of us have not been so tired that we felt like somebody should be alerted?
Needed an emergency, intervention. You're right.
Now, unfortunately, he's not lucky like we are. We have microphones, and we can just tell everybody we're tired all we want without getting 911 involved. Right. Today's Moron of the Day comes to us out of Kosovo, which is a nice break for Florida. A gentleman there somehow swallowed a mobile phone. It's a knockoff Nokia, and it's a real functional mobile phone. And no one can figure out how he got it into his mouth, down his throat, and into his stomach. But he did. And doctors, we have x-rays, we have all of it. You'll be able to see all of this. Doctors were concerned that as the phone sat in his stomach, digestive acids would begin corroding the plastic and eventually get to the battery. And once the battery started leaking inside him, that would be bad, right? Mm-hmm. So my guess is that mere minutes after he swallowed his phone, this happened.
Hi, this is Heather. I'm calling from the dealer processing department regarding your vehicle's warranty. We sent you a final notice in the mail letting you know that your warranty has expired, and this is a final courtesy call to renew the warranty before we close the file. Would you like to speak to a warranty specialist?
Even crapping your phone out won't stop these people. Surgeons decided the phone had to get removed. There was no way he could pass it. And so they used an endoscope. They reached down inside him with these tools, and they took the phone apart while it was still inside him and removed it in 3 separate pieces.
No,
medicine.
they did not.
It's amazing. Yeah. We're going to post this on our Facebook. You can see it. And again, I have this guy needs to be like a sword swallowing circus performer if he could relax his throat muscles enough to get that phone down.
I know, that's right. Speaking of those calls about your warranty about to expire, I've been getting them for 6 months. I mean, in the middle of the show, I get them, until like 8 o'clock at night, starting at 8 o'clock in the morning. And so they finally have figured out where I am, and they've changed it. They've said, well, we've contacted you and your warranty is up. So this is the last chance to kind of a new warranty. They're going to start again with a new warranty. It never, ever ends. It's just maddening. Why can't we stop these guys?
Coming up, we have comedian Mike Gaffney. We have the world's greatest roommate prank. And how much of your brain are you really using? You've always heard it's 10%. How much? It's all coming up. It's Bob and Sherry.
The Off-Air Podcast, the Bob and Sherry Oddcast. Download on the free Bob and Sherry app, website, or wherever you get your podcasts. It's Bob and Sherry.
So I guess it was on Saturday night when the SpaceX passengers, the first crew that were all civilians, landed safely in Florida waters after their experience in space. Did you watch any of that? Any of the splashdown?
Yeah, I watched some of the news coverage.
Yeah. And people have been, there was a captain on there, but he wasn't military. But they were all civilians. So it's a first. And some people have been saying these are the bravest tourists ever. But I say no. I think the tourists who eat the taco bar lunch special at Senor Frog's in Cancun, they are the bravest tourists ever. Even more so than the SpaceX civilians going for a ride. I don't know how I feel about the whole thing. I mean, on the one hand, it's pretty amazing, right? It's a private company that puts up a rocket ship and takes up, some very wealthy people for a ride. On the other hand, that's a lot of waste of energy. And pollution. I just and they're saying now, this is the beginning of space travel for everybody. Well, no, it's not. It costs millions of dollars, millions and millions and millions of dollars. So, anybody listening right now, with maybe the exception of 3 or 4 people, probably is never going to have enough money to do that.
I don't know that it'll ever be cheap. Do you know what I mean? Like once upon a time, air travel seemed out of reach for regular people. And now it's very affordable and luxurious and comfortable too. But space travel, doesn't it seem like that's always going to be a super rich person kind of a thing?
For me, when I was watching it, I was thinking to myself, this is the ultimate bungee jump. This is the ultimate bungee jump. I don't really know what's going to happen. I got a pretty good idea. I mean, they've really studied it and they've scientifically analyzed it. But anything could happen, right? It's just it's something that these people will be able to talk obviously about for the rest of their lives.
I mean, that's an interesting way to look at it, the ultimate bungee jump, because this is definitely for somebody who's got that
a thrill seeker,
thrill-seeking daredevil kind of a vibe. And they'll be able to talk about it forever, but it's always going to be a really small club of people, I think, that can afford to do that. Because
I think so too.
Even if the price came down, you're still talking about what is basically a joyride because it's so short. It's not like there's a hotel in space that you're going to, right? You're just like boom, in and out. I don't know.
I think what they're hoping is that eventually, I mean, not during our lifetime probably, but eventually there will be space stations and tourists can go and live for, I don't know, a week, a month, whatever, in space. That doesn't appeal to me. The restaurant possibilities and bars would be very limited. So it's just a certain person that wants that sort of a thrill. And I bet it was a thrill when they lit that candle.
A thrill, but you also had to I mean, maybe these people are wired differently from the rest of us, but I can imagine that you'd be so excited. You're so ready. You go through the training. You got the special space suit. But that moment where you're strapped in waiting for takeoff, is that not like where you're going to have the most second thoughts you could ever imagine having?
When you hear that engine go to a different level, when it starts, I don't want to say revving, but when all of a sudden they're ready for ignition, that has got to be quite a moment. But that's the thrill of it for some people. But it's like going to a horror movie almost.
Well, here's something that I was wondering about watching this over the weekend. Do you, as a space tourist, have to go through the same battery of psychological tests that astronauts go through to make sure that you're not going to start going crazy and pulling, machinery apart in a panic at that moment that you're describing?
Could we do the same thing for air travel too? Because that seems to be something that's needed these days.
Boy,
you're right.
Kidding.
People going crazy in airplanes. That's an interesting question, whether or not there was some psychological sort of questionnaire. I didn't hear of any. Did you?
No, that's why I'm asking. Like, isn't it kind of crazy that we just let anybody suit up and go just because the check cleared the bank?
You're right, because as Max just pointed out, there are people freaking out on airplanes for whatever reason. They don't like one thing the government's saying, or they feel they were dismissed by the flight attendant, or they're drunk. If you had somebody who was a little unstable up there and all of a sudden they start freaking out, that would not be good.
Yeah. And just because they had money, having the fact that this rich person is freaking out and destroying stuff doesn't make it any better just because they could afford to do it. I think that you should have to be maybe just a little bit tested before we launch you into space. But this, round of applause for this first batch. Yeah. They came back just fine.
They did. Right.
Straight ahead, comedian Mike Gaffney. It's Bob and Shay. Do you own or rent your home? Sure you do. And I bet it can be hard work. You know, it's easy. Bundling policies with Geico. Geico makes it easy to bundle your homeowners or renters insurance along with your auto policy. And it's a good thing, too, because you already have so much to do around your home. Just go to geico.com, get a quote, and see how much you could save. It's Geico easy. Visit geico.com today. That's geico.com. You know what seems super unfair to me? It seems super unfair to me that the world can be so awful and you have so many bills to pay and you're always tired and something always hurts and you also can't eat just whatever you want. It seems wrong to me that being an adult robs you of the simplest pleasures, like waking up in the morning and digging into a big bowl of delicious, crunchy cereal. Maybe Fruity's your jam. Maybe you like cinnamon or cookies and cream. Maybe you're a cocoa person or you're old school and you want it frosted. What you really want is some cereal for breakfast. But no, instead you have to eat a bar that tastes like a piece of fiber wood from somebody's garage. Not anymore. Not with Magic Spoon. Magic Spoon is everything you love about cereal, but it plays by grown-up rules. 0 grams of sugar, 13 to 14 grams of protein, only 4 net grams of carbs in each serving. How many calories a serving? That'd be 140. Plus, it's low carb and soy free and grain free and gluten free and keto friendly. And best of all, when you go to magicspoon.com/Sherry, you can build your own box, your own custom bundle. And because cookies and cream and maple waffle were so popular, Magic Spoon said, all right, we give in. We're going to make them permanent. Now you can make your own custom bundle, including cookies and cream and maple waffle. Total happiness guarantee. If you don't love it, absolutely love it. You will get your money refunded. No questions asked. Go to magicspoon.com/Sherry, build your custom bundle. And when you use the promo code Sherry at checkout, you can save $5 off your order. Look at that. Magic Spoon giving you everything you love about cereal and $5 off. What a time to be alive. Your next delicious bowl of guilt-free cereal, and it is so good, is at magicspoon.com/Sherry. Just use the code Sherry at checkout to save $5. And thank you, Magic Spoon, for making us all so happy and for sponsoring the Bob and Sherry podcast.
Bob and Sherry, sponsored by Bank of America Customized Cash Rewards Credit Card. You can earn 3% cash back on online shopping, making the essentials even more rewarding. Here's Bob and Sherry.
All right, let's do it. Time for Everyone Needs a Laugh. Here is comedian Mike Gaffney.
I do want to say it's healthy for my children. I do love my children. I love my children very much. And I'm not just saying that because the therapist told me to. I love my children very much. I do. I love them very much. I like them very little. My kids are old enough. I don't want to mislead anybody. My children are old enough. Like if I was to leave them on the side of the road and just drive away, it wouldn't be child abandonment. It'd be more like I moved on. This isn't really working out for me. I got to get out of here. My son's 21. My daughter's 22. I love them. They're great. My daughter's my favorite. You're not supposed to say that, but she's my favorite. I say that because she moved out, so she's awesome. My son's still wandering around. Did you ever see a boy just stand? That's my son since he's 3 years old. Just... Is he breathing? I don't even know if he's breathing. People say it's a phase. No, it's not. No, it's not. It's been since he's 3. He's 21. It's not a phase. That's just who he is. He's a dope, okay? He's just... I'll give you an example. When he was like 13 years old, I'm on the road. He gives me a phone call. He's like, yo, Dad. Yo, Dad. Yo, Dad. Yo, every time I blink, my back hurts. You heard that sentence? Did you hear it? Just sentence I just said? You heard it, right? It's the first time anybody ever heard that sentence. So I was like, huh? He's like, yeah, every time I blink, my back hurts. Here's what happened. And anytime my son says, here's what happened, strap in. We're going for a ride. He's like, here's what happened. I want to see what my face looks like when I sneeze. You heard that sentence too? You heard it? 2 sentences you never heard before in your life. So I was like, huh? I don't know what you're talking about, son. He's like, I want to see what my face looks like when I sneeze. So I went to the bathroom mirror. I took a little black pepper. I put it in my nose. Then I held my eyes open. You can't make this up. You know that, right? I held my eyes open. He didn't want to film it. He wanted to see it live, okay? And then he just waited. And now every time I blink, my back hurts. So he's basically walking around the house going, ow, 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 ow. I took him to the doctor when I got home, not for his eye back thing, for his head. I'm like, can you figure that out? He's got something's up. Doctor did everything. Everything's fine. I'm like, you did every scan? He's like, why are you so angry? I'm like, that's it? There's nothing you can do for that. It's just a moron. That's all that is. You can't do nothing for that. You can't have like a 5K walk, to raise awareness. Hasn't changed, though. We went out to dinner a couple of weeks ago. The waitress asked him, would you like a soup or a salad? And he said, yeah. I said, yeah, what, idiot? She just said soup or salad. He's like, oh, I thought she said super salad. What are we, at Comic-Con? Why would she say that? It's like a super salad. It comes with a cape and an Aquaman water.
I got to tell you, I got a picture I saw of Hampton with a couple of his friends, and one of them was using a blowtorch to light a cigarette, and they were all laughing hysterically.
Boom!
Yeah.
I can't stop thinking about the kid holding his eyelids open to see himself sneeze. Oh my God. We'll post that on our website, BOBANDSHERI.com. Go check that out. It's Bob and Sherry.
Sign up for the newsletter with Bob and Sherry exclusive articles. Sign up now at bobandsherry.com.
Okay, you guys, this is such a great prank. I love a prank where nobody gets hurt, embarrassed, humiliated, or destroyed. And that's what this is.
Okay.
And so someone that I follow on Twitter shared this from Reddit. So here we go. I'm just going to read this to you. This is the Reddit post. I've been living with my roommate for a little over 2 years. Early on, I noticed that he really liked putting garlic powder on just about everything. We each have our own separate bottles of garlic powder. His is medium sized, but the one I buy is the size of a garlic powder you'd find in a restaurant kitchen. One day, I noticed that his garlic powder was about halfway empty, so I played a silent prank. And once every week or so for the past 2 years, when my roommate isn't home, I put just enough garlic powder from my bottle into his bottle, right up to about the halfway point so that he never runs out of garlic powder. I also store my garlic powder at the back of my section in the pantry, so he never sees how much garlic powder I have on hand. Yesterday, 2 years later, after all this time, he said out loud, "I don't understand how this garlic powder is lasting so long. I think I have infinite garlic powder." Needless to say, it took a lot to contain my composure, but I didn't even acknowledge what he said in the slightest. Now, the problem is we both have to move out by mid-October because the landlord is selling the apartment and we're going our separate ways. I really want to keep this secret to myself because, one, I hate to spoil the garlic powder magic, and two, I think I'd come off as pretty weird because who does something like that, really? But after vigorously thinking it through and weighing my options, I decided that I have to tell the truth and break the news to him about his magical garlic powder. Because I'd hate for him to run out at his next apartment and start questioning reality itself. So I think it'd be best if I just made the heartbreak quick, easy, and direct. So wish me luck. Edit. Thanks for all the positive feedback and great advice. I've been reading the comments and debating what to do all day, and I finally decided that I'm going to keep a close eye on things when he's packing, and I'm going to steal his garlic powder so that it goes missing. I have to do what I got to do to keep the legend of the magical garlic powder bottle alive. And this is the only surefire way to do it. Hope everything goes according to plan. What an epic prank that is. The infinite garlic powder.
Don't you love that there are people out there, and unfortunately I'm not one of them, that can keep something like that going and just be so entertained by it? I mean, that what he was doing takes a little bit of focus. You know, you've got to remember to do it.
Well, you got to remember to do it, and you have to keep it to yourself. You have to keep it to yourself every day of your life for years and years and years. And imagine how you would feel if you had something that always stayed at the halfway mark, no matter how much you used it.
That's called alimony.
Yep, been there.
Best of all, it's harmless. That's my favorite part.
Yeah, that's right. That's the best thing. He's not embarrassed. He's not harmed. He's not out of a buck. Yeah, that is the best part of it. You know, there's this guy who's doing that doesn't sound like, you know, some pranksters who really love tricks, practical jokes, and all of that. I think this thing just happened naturally, right?
I don't like pranks that are mean, where somebody gets like really humiliated or even hurt, even if it's like not a big hurt. Like there's some prank where you sit on a thumbtack or something. I've never understood that. Like, you're not going to die from sitting on it. Well, you might, I guess. I guess you could get blood poisoning or tetanus or whatever. You're probably not going to die from sitting on a thumbtack. But how is it funny to humiliate and hurt somebody when you could be instead doing infinite garlic powder, which is fun.
The thumbtack thing, I mean, I don't ever remember anybody in my school doing that. But that idea was around when I was a kid. I think it was from maybe my grandparents' day, where they, you know, the teacher would get up and go out of the classroom, and some little punk would get up there and put a tack on his or her seat. And then the whole class would, you know, watch as he or she sits down on a thumbtack. Can you imagine what would happen if a kid did that today and got caught doing it? And you know he would, and you know it was a he. I mean, I think he'd be thrown out of school, don't you?
I think
it's assault.
You would get some serious disciplinary action. That's one of those. I wonder, though, now that you say that, it's the sort of thing that you've heard about your whole life, but you've never seen with your own eyes.
It's
but
like
I'm
the bum
it
stealing
did
pie.
happen.
Yeah, it's like the bum stealing pie from the farmer's wife's window in the
windowsill.
kitchen.
Yeah,
you know.
And by the way, we've talked about this, but I've given this a lot of thought. The hobo stealing the pie. I'm far more worried about flies and the pie than I am about random hobos jumping off a train to steal my pie.
I know.
American cartoons are so weird that way.
They are.
It's Bob and Sherry. I don't know why I'm surprised at what I'm about to say, because I guess because Princess Diana is so iconic, and while she's been gone for, I guess, 20 years, it's 20 years now, isn't it? Or it's more than that. It's actually 25 years, maybe. Anywho.
I think 25.
Yeah, she still seems so present and alive that it's hard to imagine someone playing Princess Diana in a movie and having it not be like ghastly, right? But the movie Spencer, which is about Princess Diana, and it stars Kristen Stewart, had its world premiere. So it is not Diana's life story. The whole movie takes place over Christmas at Sandringham at the Queen's Royal Estate. But it's not a historical Christmas. It's kind of an imagined Christmas right before Princess Diana and Charles got divorced. So if you think about the movie The Queen, starring Helen Mirren, which was all about what happened when Diana died.
Which was a great movie.
This is just one weekend. The marriage is completely crashed, and they're getting ready to split. And so the director cast Kristen Stewart, who everyone knows is a much better actress than like Twilight would have us believe, right? But could an American take on this amazing Princess Diana role? And the movie had its world premiere at the Toronto International Film Festival, and critics are on the floor with how spectacular it is and how spectacular her performance is.
She was the most famous.
She just becomes Diana, but it's not a caricature. So here is Kristen Stewart taking questions about playing Princess Diana.
Most famous woman in the world. She's the most photographed woman in the entire world, right? Like, that's something that's said about her. And I have tasted a high level of that, but really kind of nowhere near that monumental, symbolic representation of an entire, group of people, like an entire country, and then the world. And I feel like everyone feels like they know her, like, because that is her talent. And it's what's beautiful about her, is that she's accessible, and you feel like you're friends with her. You feel like she's your mother. But ironically, she was the most unknowable person, and somebody who really never wanted to be alone. This experience, the 3 days before she decided to leave the royal family, we imagined was probably not very much fun. But I took more pleasure into my physicality making this movie than I have on anything. I felt more free and alive and able to move and taller, even. Everything about it, I just felt so like, and now put a leash on all of that. But the best days on set for me, which actually ended up being almost every day, we would shoot a little part of this montage that's in the movie, and it was very freeform. And the only plan we ever had was you pick the look, and he picks everything, but like it's the look and the room and the song sort of informed the energy, and it was just about inhabiting the space and kind of taking your whole impression of her, of everything you've learned inside and outside of the script, and just shoving it into one moment and just allowing it to become physical. And if that's not jazz, I don't know what is. It was if I hit a mark, I would have missed it. If I were to try and do my perfect Princess Diana impression, you would start to lose the life that was so overwhelming in her personality.
That's
a lot to understand if you're not an actor or an actress. I'd love to hear. Does she do the accent? Does she try to do the accent?
She doesn't try to do it. She nails it. But I
She
don't
does.
have a
Oh, my goodness.
I don't have a long enough clip of that. I'm going to post the trailer for Spencer on our Facebook so people can watch it if they want. The most interesting part of what Kristen Stewart said was at the end when she said, "If I tried to do my most perfect Princess Diana impression, you would lose it." And when you watch the trailer for this, and I'll post it right now, the trailer's all visual. There's no dialogue really, so that's why we didn't play it. But
Yeah.
when you see the trailer, you will see it's uncanny, like the body language, the essence of it. Like you go, what? And she speaks just a couple of words, and you hear the accent. And the script, by the way, whoever wrote this movie is not messing around with the royal family. There's a scene in the movie where Princess Diana is with a very young William and Harry. They're just little boys at that time. And she says to her sons, "Will they kill me, do you think?" Meaning the queen's, like the gray men, the royal advisors. So, but if I got to say, if you're the British royal family, between The Crown on Netflix and this, ouch.
Well, then real life with Andrew and what's going on with Harry and Meghan, it as the Queen approaches 100 years of age, it's been a tough lift for her over the last few years.
I read an article, maybe a week ago in one of the British newspapers where some British commentator said, Prince George will never be king. The monarchy has become just a celebrity reality show, and the British people are going to be done with it. Yeah. Now, whether or not that's true, I don't know. That's just somebody's opinion.
I don't know
but
about that.
It sure is interesting to see Bella from Twilight completely transform into Princess Diana at the minimum.
I don't think that's going to go away, and it's financial, because remember we were talking about what is the royal family worth, and there was some figure, I don't recall what it is. Let's say it's $100 million a year out of the public treasury. They bring in like 25 times that amount with tourism. So,
but there's
get rid of that? I don't think so.
There's a point at which, Bob, how valuable is that brand with scandal piled upon scandal piled upon scandal?
Yeah, time will tell.
You have to think about what the damage to that institution is, and it's really, I mean, Prince Charles is in trouble now for his aide selling access to the crown. I mean, it's just insane over there. All right, I'll post this on Facebook. It's Bob and Sherry.
Swag you can use. Just hit shop at bobandSherry.com.
Have you ever met anyone that didn't like Betty White?
No.
And if you did meet someone that didn't like Betty White, what would you do to that person?
Well, I would. I'm not going to kill them, but I would move along, I suppose.
I would beat the living daylights out of them with my bare hands.
No, you wouldn't. You know what? You know what's amazing about her? When you check out at the grocery store, you see all of these, magazine covers, and it's people in their 20s, 30s, maybe 40s and 50s. She is on one of those covers almost every other week. And what is she? 99 years old?
Yep, she's 99. And interesting that you say that, because I have Betty White's 3 secrets to living to be 99 years old. Would you like to hear them?
I want to hear them. Yeah.
The first one, not surprisingly, is positivity. Betty White says, I have a rosy outlook on life, and I think that it's helped me live a long time. Enjoy life, Betty says. Accentuate the positive. It sounds trite, but a lot of people will find something to complain about rather than say, hey, that was great. And it's not hard to find great stuff if you look. So that's the first step. Betty White, the first step, positivity. The second step in living to be 99, according to our goddess Betty White, is vodka. Betty White says vodka is one of the essential ingredients to a good life, in her opinion, that when she has free time, she spends it drinking vodka and playing with animals. And if that doesn't sound like a recipe for a good day, I don't know what is. So step 1, positivity. Step 2, vodka. Are you with me so far, Bob Lacey? Can you get behind these two?
I'm 1 for 2. I'm 1 for 2 with her roadmap. Go ahead.
And the third and final step, Betty White tells us in living a long life, after positivity and vodka, is hot dogs. Betty says, yeah, processed meat. Betty says, I don't eat anything special. I like French fries. I like hot dogs if I can get one. I'm not a big breakfast eater. I'll have a sandwich at lunch, and then I'll come home and I'll have a vodka on the rocks. You can't get much better than that. So, folks, be positive, drink vodka, eat hot dogs, live to be 99 like Betty White.
I think what that says more than anything else is she's lucky with the gene pool.
Thank you, Dad.
Somebody else, except for the positivity, might go in a different direction there. I think it's genes with her.
Betty
says, when she was young, she was just gorgeous, wasn't she?
I think, yes. Well, she was ridiculously beautiful. Like, I see pictures of a young Betty White and you just fall over. I think she's gorgeous now. I think she is just one of these people who radiates the cheerful happiness she feels about life. When you look at pictures of Betty White, what is the first emotion that comes to mind?
Sure. Well, a smile, I think. Or, something funny is going to happen. And maybe I didn't watch the Golden Girls, but, once or twice. But she always had a good zinger. And so you have a smile on your face. You identify that with her.
I'm looking at a picture of Betty right now, and I'm feeling very good about positivity, vodka, and hot dogs. And Betty says, look, I'm just the luckiest old woman on the planet. I love life, and I can't say no to anything.
She may be right. To have a career like that, to be as beloved as that, and to still be around, you bet.
You can do a lot worse than be positive, drink vodka, and eat a hot dog, and play with your animals. Right. It's Bob and Sherry.
Bob and Sherry, sponsored by Bank of America Customized Cash Rewards Credit Card. You can earn 3% cash back on online shopping, making the essentials even more rewarding. Here's Bob and Sherry.
Bob and Sherry, go.
You've heard of HelloFresh, and maybe you've thought about making your life easier with a meal kit option. Have you thought about Meemaw?
Round up the family because you're not having an ordinary dinner tonight. Y'all are having supper at Meemaw's table. This revolutionary new meal kit delivery service is bringing your grandma's home cooking straight to your doorstep. Each box is filled with everything you need to create one of Meemaw's signature dishes from scratch, like fried chicken, collard greens, cornbread, butter beans, and fried okra.
Looks like I'm going to be eating good all week long.
Nope, that's just one meal.
Wait, what?
You'll start with the recipe card, which was handwritten by Meemaw on a stained piece of notebook paper from 1953. Once you're able to decipher her writing, you'll experience the thrill of converting Meemaw's measurements.
Does that say heaping or helping?
Packed carefully in every box are the ingredients needed to bring Meemaw's recipe to life, including a jar of bacon grease and a whole bottle of ranch dressing.
Well, that says expired 1997.
Meemaw's Table is the industry leader in sustainability. She hasn't thrown away an expired ingredient since the Nixon administration. With all of your ingredients unpacked, you're only 17 steps and 2.5 hours away from supper.
She's 17 steps?
And just like that, your Sunday supper with all the fixins is on the table.
No, it definitely wasn't just like that.
Now there's only one thing left to do.
Please, don't make me cook again.
Call in the family.
No, there is no family. I told y'all that when I signed up for this. I live alone.
That's too bad, because meals from Meemaw's Table only come in one portion size, which is enough to feed a small army or the Duggar family from TLC.
There's no way that I can eat all of this by myself.
Meemaw's even got you covered when it's time to store your leftovers. Packed with every meal kit is a set of recycled food storage containers that continue Meemaw's commitment to sustainability.
Why is it stained red inside?
In 1992, it was used to hold leftover spaghetti.
Look, honestly, all of this looks great, but I'm too tired to eat now.
Not so fast. Nothing is more offensive to Meemaw than turning down her cooking. That's why she personally visits each home to make sure you're eating right.
Wait. Meemaw's coming here, to my house. Ah!
Meemaw's recipes are family heirlooms, which is why she takes quality control into her own hands by ensuring that every meal was cooked to her incredibly high standards.
Yeah, it tastes great. Thank you, Meemaw.
It's time to stop stressing about supper and let Meemaw feed your family. Twice. Because we know y'all are going to want seconds.
No, I'm pretty sure that I won't.
Seconds are mandatory.
Yes, ma'am.
And I brought a dessert too.
There you go.
That's great.
It's the No One Cooks Like Meemaw meal kit. We'll post that up on our Facebook so you can check it out. It's Bob and Sherry.
Instant access to the podcast, and fun side. Just download the free Bob and Sherry app.
I'm sure Doc has never been banned from anywhere. Have you, Doc? Have you ever been banned from an establishment?
Not yet. Not that I know of, at least.
Aspire.
Hopeful. Yeah, very good. How about you, Sherry? Were you ever banned from any restaurant or store?
Not permanently. Not a permanent ban.
You were. What does that mean? You were thrown out?
Oh, I've been thrown out of a couple places. Yeah. Before I got my Philly under control, back when I was overcome by my Philly and did not know how to control my powers, I got thrown out of one restaurant for the altercation where I told a woman who told me to kiss her ass. I asked her if she had anything smaller. I got thrown out for that.
That's still one of your best lines.
And then another time I was at like a 24-hour diner, and there was a couple sitting at the table at the booth opposite me, and this man was really bullying this woman, and she was sitting there just silently, tears rolling down her face while he was saying awful things to her. And finally I just couldn't stand anymore and intervened and caused a scene and was thrown out of there, but not banned permanently.
Okay. How about you, Max?
Yes,
have you ever been banned?
I was banned for life from the Aunt Sarah's Pancake House on Broad Street in Richmond, Virginia, and in fact, all Aunt Sarah's Pancake Houses around the Richmond vicinity. They told me I was banned to never return, but of course I have, because no one's checking me at the door now.
I had a girlfriend who was banned from a restaurant once. She was married at the time, and then became my girlfriend. And so she went, and her husband, it was like a Wednesday night, and they were in their early 20s, got married early, and her husband was ignoring her and paying attention to his friends, and it was like she wasn't even there. And she had a couple of drinks, and she went outside, and there's a big glass window in front of in front of the bar where everybody was packed. And she just banged on it, turned around, dropped them, and pressed it up against. And could hear the applause through the thick glass. And the manager came out and said, "You are banned. You are banned from this restaurant for life." And she said, "Yeah, well, I'm going to get a disguise, and I'm coming back." Right in his face again. So I was enjoying these people who were banned. They posted this online. This first guy says, "My uncle got us banned from a mom and pop diner in the 1990s. The unintended but totally foreseeable consequence of doing their eat a 72-ounce steak in under an hour. 6 times he did it in 2 weeks, and I know for a fact he does not regret it. And in case you're wondering, in 2 weeks, that is 27 pounds of steak this man consumed. 27 pounds. Now that's an American right there.
What's awful is you said that's 27 pounds of steak, and I thought to myself, well, there's a colon I never want to be shrunken down,
That's right.
Miniaturized and made to visit. Woo!
Yes, sir. This person said, "I have a friend who puked all over the Maury Povich show shuttle bus and was subsequently banned from all Maury-related activities." I got to say, that's not the worst thing I've ever seen on a Maury Povich show.
But he's still doing it. I don't know how old he is, but he's still doing it.
Way up in his 80s. He's in his 80s. I mean, don't you think Maury Povich, he used to be a renowned sportscaster, and then he did that horrible Inside Edition show.
Maury
and
Povich
then he did
was a
this.
sportscaster?
He was a sportscaster in Washington, D.C. In fact, Maury's father, his father's name was Shirley Povich, and he was a writer for the Washington Post.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have only known Maury Povich as the husband of Connie Chung and the man who has ruined so many babies' lives with his Who's Your Daddy stuff. I had no idea he used to be a sportscaster.
Yeah, and he was well thought of as a sportscaster.
Yeah, he was. And A Current Affair is no longer on the air, but that goes down in television history as the first truly tabloid, big production show. It was before Entertainment Tonight, and it was a little bit more scandalous. Maureen O'Boyle, our friend Maureen O'Boyle, took over from him.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Boy, the more you know. Okay.
Yeah, banned. I got banned from my local Target, this person says, because I pressed a bunch of squeaky toys all at once and caused a noise disturbance. Well, I mean, that doesn't sound too bad to me.
I can't believe you don't get banned for life from Target for that, do you?
You wouldn't think so. I think just maybe temporarily.
Like they're gonna check.
Yeah, I'm going to another Target.
A friend was banned from our local library because she was playing around and ended up knocking over half of the bookshelves. I can see that. I can see being banned for that. I stole some CDs from Best Buy when I was 13. I've gone back a million times since my ban, and I've never stolen anything again. So that's good. At least the person learned something.
Now,
finally...
Hey, nowadays, they'd invite you to steal them just to get them off the shelves because nobody's buying them, right? Everybody's downloading.
Right. You're right. And finally, my college roommate got permanently banned from Target for putting wet floor signs next to the 50 Shades of Grey display. And there you go. I've never been banned. It's Bob and Sherry.
You read it once.
I don't believe that.
And then you read it again.
I can't believe this.
It's Bob and Sherry's.
I don't believe this.
I cannot believe this.
All right, this is going to give you something to think about because this created an entire industry that to this day is worth gazillions. Your whole life, what percentage of your brain were you told you used?
According to my middle school teachers, approximately 6%.
Not too far off. Yeah, 10%. We have been told our whole lives that we use 10% of our brains. Where did that come from? Well, it turns out that it all started back in 1936 when Dale Carnegie published How to Win Friends and Influence People. Dale Carnegie grabbed hold of an article that had been published in the journal Science in 1907, where the legendary psychologist William James suggested that we use only a tiny fraction of our brains, maybe 10% at the most. And that was just speculative. Like, we had no MRIs back then. We didn't have, he just kind of pulled that out of his 1907 butt, right? I mean, just kind of made that up. Dale Carnegie grabbed a hold of that and put it in How to Win Friends and Influence People, which created that was the birth of the self-improvement movement. Self-improvement is a category that is worth billions and billions of dollars because human beings are always trying to be happier, healthier, wealthier, sexier, better. We're always trying to be better. And the self-improvement movement feeds that dream and that wish that we can improve. And the idea that roughly 90% of our brain is just sitting there waiting to be poked and woken up and forced to do tricks. That sells a lot of books. It's sold a lot of everything now for like almost 100 years. But of course, it's completely bonkers. You're actually using your whole brain pretty much all the time. And we know that now because we have all this really super cool imaging technology that shows us what part of our brains light up when. And not only are we using all of our brains all the time, but your brain, no matter how much science we put there and how much technology we have, your brain still remains really mysterious. For example, we may know that you're using all your brain, but we have no idea how the brain creates consciousness. And we're not really sure in all of the ways that the brain is able to heal itself from injury. You know, you'll see people that have like a brain tumor and a big chunk of their brain is scooped out in surgery. And over time, other parts of the brain go, all right, I got this. And they help, your brain heals in a way that helps people recover function, whether it's speech or memory or, walking and talking, whatever it is. So even though you're using all of your brain kind of all of the time and in ways that we never imagined, your brain is still a giant unknown, like a giant Twilight Zone episode. But what I like about this is not the knowledge that we're using all of our brains. It's that we're just a bunch of suckers. Because back in the 30s, some dude just threw that out there and we all went, and we've been throwing money at it ever since, thinking that we could wake our brain up and be better.
Who was one of the strongest followers of Dale Carnegie's positive thinking?
Oh, you're not going to tell me Hitler, are you?
Manson.
Oh, Charles Manson?
Manson read that book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, and he said he believed every single word in it, and he said he embraced it. Now, obviously, he embraced it in a very bad way. Some people think that, Carnegie, he didn't really create positive thought. He created entitlement.
He influenced people, but were those people really his friends?
Mm-hmm.
Well, the thing, you say what you want about Charles Manson, and he was insane and evil, but whatever he took away from that Dale Carnegie book must have been powerful.
He influenced a certain amount of people. Yeah.
I mean,
you're right.
Influenced them to the point they'd commit murder for him.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean,
that's very true.
Most people read Dale Carnegie, so they can do better at job interviews or cocktail parties or whatever. Mm-hmm. The idea that if you really put all of that into play, that you could become Charles Manson gives me the willies.
I know it. I didn't realize that till the other day. I just stumbled upon it. And he was a big devotee of Carnegie.
It's just the thing that really gets me, and it makes me feel like, everything's a lie. Nothing's real, is that the entire self-improvement movement was based on just some made-up crap.
It always, to me, as a kid, because you heard, I swear to God, I think a teacher said that to me once in school. I can't be sure of that, but it was a given that maybe it wasn't 10%, but it was a small part of your brain, and that somehow, if we could only feel how we could unleash the rest of the power of our brain, Lord knows what we could achieve. But no, we're struggling, rowing upstream.
I mean, if you're a person who, has to use your fingers to count, and you're eating your own sock, that's pretty much as good as it's going to get for you. Yeah. It's a little bit depressing. I'm going to post this up on our Facebook. You can go check it out. It's Bob and Sherry.
The Bob and Sherry website, the Oddcast, contest info, bobandsherry.com.
Virginia Roberts Giuffre is the woman, she's in her 30s now, who is suing Prince Andrew for sexual assault when she was, I think, 17 years old. You probably, if you look at any of the tabloids at all, or really news coverage, you've seen the picture of him with his sheepish grin and his arm around Miss Giuffre way back then when she was 17 years old. He denies it. He completely denies it. And he has hired a U.S., as the Sun newspaper says, legal eagle. His name is Andrew Bettler, and he is representing Andrew in these accusations. The day that he met with Miss Giuffre's, Mrs., she's a married woman, Giuffre's attorneys, Andrew took part in a shooting party. He hosted guests at the Queen's private 550-acre Balmoral estate, despite the challenges going on. The shooting party was also attended by the Crown Prince of Bahrain, who is linked to human rights abuses in his home country for whatever reason. That is part of the story. So I'm looking at a picture of Andrew out there looking very natty with his boots on. He's got sunglasses and he's got a shotgun in his hand. I have to tell you, if I were facing the sort of charges that he's facing, I might invite some of my friends to come out to a shooting party, but I also might ask for a cigarette and a blindfold, because I don't know what's going to happen with this guy. They seem to have him dead on rights with witnesses saying that he was seen not only at the mansion of Jeffrey Epstein, but he was seen. A man said that he saw him at the island where Jeffrey Epstein used to take these underage girls and these young women. Maybe he's clean. I don't know, but it's just, I've never seen in my life, I don't think I've ever seen a royal in worse trouble than this guy is in. I mean, they are trying to get him to come to the United States to testify on his own behalf.
I think it's two things. First of all, I think he's arrogant in the extreme, and anybody that saw that disastrous interview that he gave to the BBC would agree. But I also think that he's being advised to act as though these allegations couldn't possibly be true, and that if you are hiding and skulking and weeping, you look guilty. So go out there and go grouse shooting or whatever the heck it is he's doing, and act like the innocent man that you say you are. But I don't know that there is a strategy that helps Prince Andrew at this point. Do you?
Harry and Meghan can rejoice in one fact, even though they've been hammered recently. Prince Andrew is now the person who's had the lowest approval rating of any royal in the survey.
He seems to think that by rekindling his relationship with his ex-wife and remarrying her, that he's going to make this okay. And he's been telling people he will be returning to official royal life. I don't think so. I don't see it happening. Do you?
She is everywhere. She is posing for, I don't know if it was Vanity Fair, but one of the slick magazines with her daughters by herself in these really elegant, over-the-top gowns. And I was checking out at the store the other day, at the grocery store, and I look over, and there's some sort of health magazine that I'd never heard of before. It wasn't Women's Health, but it was some kind of a cheesy health magazine. And she's on the cover saying, and here's the headline, Fergie leading her best life ever. Now, where has that been for months and months and months? Somebody is wrangling her appearances.
This is all intentional.
It's all intentional.
This is an intentional campaign. And the irony of this is, somebody get Alanis Morissette, because here's the irony. The very same woman that disgraced the royal family and brought global embarrassment down on their heads is now the one they're looking to save them from that very same thing.
You're exactly right.
And if you live long enough, everything circles back around. If you're the Duchess of York, I don't know how she sleeps for giggling. I think she keeps herself up all night long chuckling at the way things have turned out.
She looks happy. She looks happy. I mean, can he say, I refuse to come to the United States to testify on my own behalf?
So far, that's what he's saying. And so far, it's working for him. I guess we'll see, right?
Yeah. It's Bob and Sherry.
Now, let's open up the Bob and Sherry Archive Vault.
Sherry, what happened to you?
Okay. It's kind of crazy. We had a chain restaurant in a little town up here in West Jefferson.
Uh-huh.
And it's out of business now, so we can say it.
Okay.
You could never get what you ordered.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I don't know how many mornings I come through to order a bacon and egg biscuit, and they put cheese on it every morning.
And you don't want cheese?
No, I don't do cheese at all. And I'd say, does it have cheese on it? No, sir. Are you sure that doesn't have cheese on it? Yes, sir, I'm sure.
Uh-huh.
I get it, open the bag, and it's got cheese on it. And I give it back to them. Look, I was in a hurry one morning. Got 2 miles down the road, bit into it, and it had about a half inch of cheese on it. I come back, went through the drive-thru, threw the biscuit through the window, and said, there's anybody in there working that can make a biscuit without putting cheese on it. So my last trip through there, I got the girl at the drive-thru. I mean, I said, just give me something. There was about 30-second silence, and she said, well, would you like a such and such? I said, I don't care. Just give me something. I said, just give me whatever you want me to have. I said, I never get what I order. I said, you just give me something.
Jerry, we're related in some way. We are related. That is the best.
I wish I had a crown.
I said, I never get what I order. I said, you people can't never get it right. Just give me something, and if I can't eat it, I'll feed it to my dog when I get home.
Hey, he could have got the crown at that place.
What did she say at that point?
She didn't know what to say. And my friends and buddies up in town, they accused me of closing the restaurant down. They said it's my fault that the restaurant closed.
Oh, Jerry, you're my hero. You really are. Thank you so much.
All right. You guys.
I'd give anything to be there. Just give me whatever you want me to have.
Whatever you people want me to have.
Shane is with us. Hey, Shane.
Hi, Shane.
Hello.
How you doing, Shane?
I'm doing pretty good. How y'all?
All right, man. What happened to you?
Well, this happened. My kids were about 5 and 6. They're grown now, but I'm pretty much a laid back. I get along with everybody, basically everybody.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, going to this restaurant, and I had ordered their kids' meals, and all I wanted their tacos to have was meat and cheese only on it.
Mm-hmm.
So we got out to the car, and because we ordered it to go, got out to the car, and it had sour cream, lettuce, tomato, had everything on it. So I take them back in there, and I was like, I'm sorry, there must be some kind of miscommunication or something because, we only ordered meat and cheese only on these tacos. And they said, okay, we'll fix it. Well, they do it again. And it comes back this time, and it had meat, no cheese, lettuce, and tomato.
You should have gone to Jerry's place. They got plenty of cheese over there. Anyway. So that's 2 times, right?
So yeah. So I take it back, take it out there and then get it because I just assumed that it was right. So then I look at them again. I'm like, no, this isn't right. So I take them back in there, and I was like, all we want is meat and cheese only on these tacos. So they take them back again. They bring it back. The next time it has meat and sour cream, no cheese.
That's 3 times.
Yeah. So at this time, I'm starting to get aggravated, and I'm like, because I'm figuring they're doing this on purpose or whatever. So anyway, I take it back in there one more time, and I was like, look, I don't know who needs to fix these, but all we need is meat and cheese only on these tacos. I said, is there anybody that can just put meat and cheese only on these tacos? So they said, yes, sir, we'll get it right for you. They bring it back out, and this time they're fully loaded. They got everything.
So that's 4 times.
That's 4.
That's the 4th time.
Mm-hmm.
Now, by this time I've had it. I was like, obviously they're not going to get it right. So, and like I said, I'm really easy to get along with.
Shane, at any time, did they say, come back, Shane?
Because you did.
Because you did. Was that the problem?
I think it was just known that I was going to come back.
So you went, in all, did you go 5 times?
Yeah, the 5th time I went back in there, I said, I tell you what, I don't even want these tacos anymore. I'm going to take them to McDonald's and get them something to eat. And I picked up one of the tacos, and I threw it at the manager.
Oh, Shane.
The sour cream cheese went everywhere.
Oh, he could have called the coppers on you.
Jerry drove by and threw a biscuit at Burger King.
That's the same thing.
He did.
The foods are flying this morning. Holy smoke. Did you have a Bob moment at a restaurant?
You can hear more from the Bob and Sherry archives at bobandsherry.com.
The Bob and Sherry website, the Oddcast, contest info, bobandSherry.com.
One of the things about radio is you have to be able to communicate without any visuals. And every once in a while, Sherry or I or Max or Doc will come upon something. And we like it so much, but it's not visual. I guess I should pass on this, but I can't. Because there are a couple of these things that are just so perfect. The post was 30 of the funniest classical art memes from an Instagram page. So I'm going to try to describe 2 of them because I like them so much. So just bear with me. The first one is a classical painting. It looks like it might be out of the 1700s, maybe the 1600s. And it's a man who is dressed in this beautiful red outfit, and the woman is dressed in a yellow gown. And the gown is not exposing her chest, but it's revealing. He is passionately kissing her neck, and her eyes are closed. as in just
bliss.
Ecstasy. Yeah, bliss, ecstasy. And the meme is Romeo and Juliet is not a love story. It's a 3-day relationship between a 13-year-old and a 17-year-old that caused 6 deaths.
Wow. You know, that's bottom line right there.
That's bottom line. And it's signed sincerely everyone who actually read it. The next, I actually have 3. The next are, it's a painting of 3 cats, strangely around a Ouija board. And it says, when you die, your cats will still meow at you at 3 a.m. for food.
That's actually true. And if there's a painting of 3 cats using a Ouija board, I'm very interested in owning that. Where is this masterpiece hanging?
I will find out, and I will send it to you. Now, the third one I think we need to discuss. It is. It looks like the 1700s, and it's an aristocratic-looking couple. He has on a green coat and a white tie coming out of a very formal shirt and a vest. And he's leaning into a woman who has a bouffant hairdo and a very revealing dress. They're both very upscale people. Her hair is dangling across her chest. She has a flower at the top of the dress that kind of hides her breasts. And he has a very, I don't know, sort of winsome look about him as he looks into her eyes. And the meme says, relationships are just 2 people constantly asking each other what they want to eat until one of them dies.
Actually, that is my marriage. So I feel very called out right here, especially now that Kevin, it used to be because now Kevin has decided he's going to cook too. So he's cooking for me. So this was our life before. What do y'all feel like having for dinner? Ghost chicken it is. Okay. What do y'all feel like having for dinner? Whatever I feel like cooking. Want? Okay. What do you feel like having for? Here's what I feel like cooking. A glass of wine. Glass of wine for dinner, everyone. I know y'all are underage. So now it's flipped it. And Kevin's like, do you want me to cook this, or this for dinner? And I enjoy saying, whatever you feel like. Well, it's not whatever I feel like. It's whatever you want. I'm like, no, it's whatever you feel like. How do you like living? How do you like living with you? It's kind of exhausting, isn't it?
Do you think it's like this for just about everybody? Or are there households where, traditionally the woman says, we're having chicken, potatoes, and green beans tonight. And, then the conversation is over, because at our house, it's what I just described. And it's the same thing if we're going out to dinner, Like maybe we go out once a week, sometimes twice a week if we're both working later. It's like, where do you want to go? I don't know. What do you feel like? Well, I don't know. You're kind of, careful with what you're eating these days. It's maddening.
I think there are only 3 households now in America. There's the household where you ask each other what you feel like eating until one of you dies. There's the household where everyone just drives through and picks up their own like chicken nuggets and fries and eats alone in front of their screen. And then there are celebrities with private chefs who are having their meals prepared for them, and they never have to discuss it, shop for it, or clean up afterward. That's it. I don't think there's anything else. I think those are the 3 mealtime options in the USA.
Okay,
right
so the third one, that's about 1/4% of the population. So you basically feel it's either you're picking it up or you're arguing, or not really arguing.
You're not arguing,
but discussing.
What do you want?
And then
I don't know.
Coming
what
to
do you
some
want?
sort of a solution.
I've had a lot of people say to me, "What's life like now that it's just you and Kevin in the house?" This is the God's truth. More nights than not, we end up not eating anything for dinner because neither one of us can decide. Let me tell you what.
I know that.
Let me tell you what I had for dinner Monday night. I had a glass of wine, 4 Townhouse pita crackers, a piece of string cheese, and a handful of craisins. Okay. That's a lot of the food groups, by the way. That's a ton of the food groups. That's what I had for dinner. What did my husband have for dinner? I'll be damned if I know, because neither one of us could agree on anything. And so we were just grazing. It's really sad.
Do you know what I said? Do you know what I said to Mary yesterday morning? I said, "Can I have one of your Laughing Cow cheese wedges?"
Oh, you asked permission.
She bought it for herself. She likes Laughing Cow. And, I know that if I go in there and I take a couple of cheese wedges from that little round Laughing Cow thing, she's going to go, "Who's been eating my Laughing Cow?" So I had to ask.
Wait a minute. Like, the way you two live is so fascinating to me. She eats your stuff without permission, right?
Oh, yeah.
But you're not allowed to eat a piece of Laughing Cow without permission.
No. Cannot.
I'm loving this dynamic.
Oh, she's got it made. Believe you me. This woman has got it made.
I totally agree. It's Bob and Sherry.
A shareable taste of the show. The Fun Size Podcast drops every Thursday on the free Bob and Sherry app.
Sherry, you and I and Max and probably Doc have always been on the side of servers at restaurants. Wouldn't you say that has been the case with the show?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because we've all been in that business. And if you haven't worked in the restaurant business, you've missed out on some experiences. And you perhaps don't know what people go through when they have that job. And so I have been really unsettled by the amount of people who have left that career since COVID came into our lives. I mean, you can't go to a restaurant these days without seeing "We're hiring." As you walk through the door, there's a sign that says "We're hiring." It's just everywhere. Some restaurants actually have stopped serving at 3:00 in the afternoon because, well, they don't have a big nighttime, they're not a nighttime restaurant. They don't have a big, they make a little bit of money, but they can't find people to work there. And so they just close down at 3:00. And as somebody who's always loved restaurants and the whole culture around it and appreciated the work and the food, it's really troubling. And so I read this thing. It was a post of former servers, and a couple of their comments jumped out at me. You know how in some restaurants, and usually it's like a sandwich joint, there is next to the get-it-yourself Coke machine, there's a big iced tea thing that's chrome, and it says iced tea. Maybe one is sweet, one is not, has no sugar in it. The person who posted this said, "No matter how bad a day you're having, somebody in a restaurant somewhere just started brewing tea with the nozzle wide open and walked away without knowing it."
Well, I don't have to imagine it. Remember, you've done this before too. If you have like a Mr. Coffee or whatever, you better remember to put the pot under it correctly, or you go out of the shower to find that you've made coffee all over the kitchen floor.
All over the kitchen. And this is that on steroids. Another one of the posts was, "You have not worked in the service industry or in a restaurant if you have not cried inside a walk-in cooler."
I didn't know everybody knew about that.
I didn't. I mean, my old man's restaurant had one, but I was a kid. What did I know? I didn't care about anything. But I guess if you've had someone who's yelled at you for whatever reason, and it's like the fourth time in the day that you've been yelled at for no reason that you had anything to do with, I guess it could be soul crushing. Like, if you're a server and you bring the salad, and this person is getting a big salad, right? And you asked, "What's the dressing?" And you bring them with the dressing on the salad, and they say, "Oh, I really wanted it on the side." At that point, what do? Because the chef, the cook, the manager is going to be so ticked off if they have to throw it away. And yet this person, because she or he did not say, I like it on the side, or maybe you forgot. Now you're a bad server and your tip is going to be just nothing.
With very few exceptions now, because people want it on the side, like all salad dressings come on the side, unless you get like a Caesar salad where it's tossed, right? So the last time I was in a restaurant, which was roughly 16 years ago, it feels like, I said, I'll have the blah, blah, blah dressing on the side. And the server said, we wouldn't put dressing on your salad if you paid us to, because we are so tired of people asking for it on the side. It's all on the side. And I was like, that is an exhausted server. Yeah.
Yeah. In most places, Mary didn't ask for it on the side the other day, and she got it, and she was disappointed. So it's not everywhere, but that's interesting that for the most part, that's what the service industry is doing now.
They have to, because people are so picky and fussy and complaining. Of course, they're going to put it on the side. I think being a server, even before there were shortages, was a thankless job. You don't act like that at home, right? Like if
true. If
somebody brings me, and this is a fantasy, until recently, someone brings me a meal and puts the plate in front of me, you don't go, this doesn't look like what I ordered. Like, you don't act like that. Don't act like that in public.
I know. You feel that some people feel that they have control because of the tip.
I like what Lamar says, though. He says sometimes he bases the tip on how they handle adversity. And if they handle something that was brought that was incorrect, he doesn't base his tip on that. He bases it on how they handled that.
Oh, that's interesting.
And by the way, I would never punish a server for something that happened on the kitchen side. Your server picks up your meal and brings it to the table. Your server didn't cook it. So if there's something wrong with your cheeseburger, ask for it to be fixed. Why are you blaming the server for that? I think that a lot of things in our lives and reality are in the middle of a giant reset.
Yeah.
And some of that we're not going to like. Like some of it we don't already like, and some of it we're not going to like going forward. I always think about my brother-in-law, Danny, who had 2 restaurant jobs. He got furloughed. He went to school online. He got certified. And now he has a brand new, unbelievable career with benefits. He is not working in a restaurant now, not to spite you, but because he used the time to improve himself.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
I'm not going to be over here like some big old, like, yeah. Okay. It be like that. Maybe we need to rethink how we compensate these people and rethink benefits and all of those things. Maybe it's time for a giant reset in a lot of ways.
Yeah, it's either going to be that, or I think it's going to be you sit down and electronically you order and you pick the food up yourself. I mean, even in like a sports bar sort of restaurant, I could see that happening.
Well, it's going to be the fast casual, the Panera model. You order it at the counter, they give you a pager, you go sit down, your food arrives.
Yeah,
tip, you don't tip. It's up to you. It's between you and God, right? It's Bob and Sherry.
Leave us a talk back with the free Bob and Sherry app.
On Reddit, a bunch of people who were around, I think, 40 years old got together, and the question was, when did you realize that you are officially not young anymore? And once again, these are not people in their 70s or 80s or even their 50s. They're around 40, maybe late 30s. And 40s. So here are a few of the comments on how people realized they were not young anymore. First one, when I saw a smoking hot redhead on the subway, and instead of thinking, wow, she is smoking hot, I thought, I hope she uses a lot of sunscreen because she is vulnerable to skin cancer more than most people.
Okay, but now you're calling yourself out, Bob, because that wasn't some guy. That was you. That was you.
Yeah, I know it. I knew that I was not young anymore when a song I loved as a teenager is now considered an oldie on the radio. That does jump out at you once in a while.
There is nothing more terrifying than being in the vitamin aisle at Walgreens when a song that you used to jump up and dance on a table to comes on the music.
I know. The music. Yeah, exactly. I knew I was not young anymore when I opened a new pack of sponges for dishwashing and became all excited to use a fresh sponge. I've done it. I knew I was not young anymore when I went to a nightclub last weekend and everyone looked like a child. I knew I was not young anymore when I started getting excited for 9 p.m. bedtime. Boy, I tell you what, in this job, you've done that, been doing that for years and years. I felt a sneeze coming on while I was bent over and legitimately thought, I better stand up straight for this if I want to keep my back. Saw some neighborhood kids messing with a stop sign while driving home. I slowed the car down. I rolled down the window and I said, hey, I think maybe you shouldn't be doing that.
That is, again, not some
me.
Guy. That is you. Just go ahead
me.
and own it.
That is me. This one really, I've never had this happen, thank God, but it did to this person who's, again, 40-ish. I knew I was not young again when a 22-year-old offered me their arm to get down some steps.
What in the world? Now, come on. How old are you if a 22-year-old is offering you help?
You know, even if the guy was 60, unless you were really struggling.
Struggling, yeah. It seems weird to me.
And maybe he was struggling a little bit. When I only got 4 hours of sleep before work and felt like I was literally going to die. 10 years ago.
Of my life.
I know.
You know, when you were a kid, you'd pull it off. You go, I'm so strong. I can do that.
Well, listen to what this guy says. 10 years ago, I would drive 5 hours after work on Friday, see my girlfriend, we'd party all weekend, and then I'd leave at 1 a.m. Monday, drive all night, go to work Monday. I was exhausted, but fine. Now, just one night of not enough sleep, and I got old. That's so true. That is so true. I knew I was not young anymore when I hated loud music and wanted to go home early and wanted my neighbors to keep the noise down. I'm in more of these than I'd like, to be honest with you. I just bought a new mop and I was really excited to go home and use it. I mopped the whole apartment in absolute bliss. I finally decided that I will not fall for the Swiffer commercials ever again. Oh, go get 'em, you rebel, you. I went to a trampoline park for a kid's birthday of a friend of mine, and I pulled a muscle in the first 5 minutes. I knew I was not young again when my daughter asked to listen to oldies like Nirvana, and Pearl Jam, and the Foo Fighters. That's probably one you've gotten hit with the girls, right?
The worst for me was when my daughter stole my Doc Martens. And I've had my Docs since like the early 90s, right? I've had my Docs since I was in college in the 80s. So she steals my Doc Martens and she wears them to death. And then last weekend tells me that for Christmas, she needs a new pair of Doc Martens. And I said, oh, you finally wore mine out? And she said, well, to be fair, they were antique when I took them.
Oh, God, you're an antique. Oh, my God. This happened to me when we were at the old station and they brought in a bunch of guys for the sports station. You remember that? We didn't know any of them. And I think their average age was right around 14. And this guy says, neighborhood kid next door, must be 22 or so, calls me sir. The first time I was like, sir? Sir? Okay, I'm a little older than you, but sir. I got that when those guys, hello, sir. Whoa! What's going on with that? What's going on with that? It's, you know, you may be a sir at that time, but you don't like hearing it. So, well, let me do a cliche. You're only as old as you feel, right?
Oh, it's Bob and Sherry. Hey, thank you so much for listening to the Bob and Sherry podcast and the Bob and Sherry Oddcast. We would love if you would subscribe, rate and review, and share it with a friend on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, wherever you go. And thank you again for listening.
Hey, I'm EJ Dixon.
And I'm Brittany Spanos.
We're both Rolling Stone writers. Brittany covers pop music, fandom, and race.
And EJ reports on everything internet culture related, from influencers to far-right extremist groups to OnlyFans.
And we both spend an insane amount of time on TikTok.
Literally so many hours.
Every single day.
My feed is all wacky family stories, aesthetically pleasing cooking videos, and hot guys.
And mine is primarily Y2K makeup tutorials, true crime conspiracy theories, and bisexual thirst traps.
So it feels right that we put all those hours of scrolling and laughing at our phones to more productive use.
That's why we're hosting Don't Let This Flop, a weekly podcast about what's happening on TikTok.
We'll keep you up to date on the big trends, the wackiest stories, and who is who in the TikTok extended universe.
There will be interviews with content creators we follow, fellow journalists who have reported brilliantly on the app, and much more.
As fellow millennials, we understand how overwhelming it can be to try to keep up with who's dating who, what dance is trending, or who's getting canceled.
So we've created this podcast to try to keep you and us up to speed.
You don't want to miss it. Subscribe to us on Apple, Spotify, and anywhere else you get your podcast fix.
And please, don't let this flop.
We're joking, but also not really.